The 3DS and Wii U eShops are fantastic digital storefronts full of great games, but sadly Nintendo will be permanently shutting them down very soon. On March 27, 2023, these two systems eShops will close for good. It's pretty sad that this is happening, since these consoles really aren't that old. There's a lot of awesome games that won't be available anymore, so today I'll be going over some of my picks and recommendations for games you should pick up before it all shuts down. This won't be a comprehensive list of every exclusive game, it'll just be my personal highlights from both systems. I'll do my best to include games that are only available on the eShop, but there are a few exceptions that have physical versions. The prices of physical copies of games will probably skyrocket after the eShop closes, so as a general piece of advice, you should buy anything you want to play now so you can get it for a reasonable price. And if you're watching this video after March 27, 2023, I don't really know what to tell you. Nintendo has already removed the ability to add funds directly on the 3DS and Wii U, but there's still a workaround. Make sure the Nintendo Network ID account that's linked to your 3DS or Wii U is also linked to your Nintendo Switch account. Merge the two balances, and then add funds to your balance from the Switch's eShop options page. It'll only let you add money in set amounts, which is kind of clunky, but it works for now. You can also do this from the Nintendo website if you don't have a Switch. I'll leave a link in the description to a more detailed walkthrough of how to do this if you need any help. Man, isn't it fun how Nintendo is making us jump through all these hoops just to give them our money? Okay, let's get into the list. I have 10 games to go over for both the 3DS and the Wii U, plus some extra mentions for each as well. One of my personal favorite 3DS eShop games is Sakura Samurai. The precise swordplay combat is simple but takes a while to master, and dodging attacks at the perfect time before striking back feels great. For releasing so early in the 3DS's life, I think it still looks really good, and I love the overall theming and atmosphere. There's a lot of levels to play through, towns to stop by to play minigames and upgrade your gear, and some awesome boss fights too. For only $7, this is a must-have eShop game you should definitely pick up before things shut down. Harmo Knight is a rhythm-based runner where you jump and attack to the beat, and this one is actually made by Game Freak, which is pretty cool. The gameplay is super satisfying, and there's a lot of creativity in the level design the longer you play. The visuals are super bright, colorful, and charming, and still look great today. This one is super polished for being a digital eShop exclusive. It's so cool to see totally original ideas like this, and I'm glad they found time to make this game in between Pokemon games, and I highly recommend adding it to your 3DS library. Attack of the Friday Monsters is a charming storybook-style adventure game where you explore a quiet Japanese town in 1971 as a young boy. This game is just so cozy and inviting, with an interesting mystery to unravel as you play. I really enjoy just roaming around and taking in the beauty of the landscape stills you traverse through, and interacting with all the townsfolk and discovering little side chapters to experience is awesome. The soundtrack is also incredible. Overall, this game just has an amazing vibe, and as of now, this game is going down with the eShop, so pick it up while you still can. Dylan's Rolling Western is like an epic Western tower defense game, only instead of viewing the battle from a bird's eye perspective, you're on the ground floor as the Ranger Dylan fighting to save small villages. I love the sense of speed and intensity with this one. When the evil rock monsters start attacking, there's a real feeling of urgency and danger. This game also uses the stylus in an interesting way, where you pull back and let go to launch Dylan forward and roll around the desert. The gameplay is top-notch and lots of fun, and the Western atmosphere is super great. This one's pretty cheap at only $10, and there was a sequel for around the same price, as well as a third game for a full $40. I haven't played those ones yet, but I want to because I really enjoyed the first one. Rhythm Heaven Megamix is a rhythm-based minigame compilation with a ton of charm and personality. This is the fourth game in the Rhythm Heaven series, and this one combines some of the classics from previous games with some new ones as well. This game is made by the same team behind the WarioWare games, so expect a lot of strange and wacky visuals with funny sound effects. The gameplay is basically just pressing A to the beat of the music, but it's surprisingly fun and engaging. There's a basic cute little story to keep you playing, but the minigames themselves are the main focus. This one didn't get a physical release in North America, so the eShop is the last place to get it. It's pretty expensive at $30, but if you're a fan of this series, it's definitely worth it. Probably the weirdest one to explain on this list, Pocket Card Jockey is a game where you race horses while playing solitaire on the lower screen. The better you play in solitaire, the better your horse does in the race, with lots of other mechanics thrown in there too. I was pretty skeptical about this one, but everyone seems to love it, and after giving it a try myself, I can say that it's actually really fun and addicting. Like Harmonite, this one is also made by Game Freak. Who knew this team was so good at making original games? Horse racing and management combined with solitaire card playing is a bizarre combination, but surprisingly it works, and it's one of the most creative little games on the 3DS. It was released on mobile in Japan, but in North America it's a 3DS eShop exclusive. Box Boy is a small simple puzzle game with a lot of clever mechanics and great level design. HAL Laboratory ended up turning this into a little mini-series, with 3 games on the 3DS and 1 on the Switch. This game is a great example of taking a seemingly straightforward gameplay mechanic and making some really great content out of it, using it in surprising ways constantly. There's actually a lot of levels to play through, and it's always satisfying to finally solve that puzzle you've been stuck on. If you want to own the first couple games in this series, make sure you pick them up before they're gone. Kersploosh, also known as Splash or Crash in Europe, is actually published by Nintendo, and only $3, so it's surprising to me that it seems to be so obscure. It's an arcade-style game where you play as a stone falling down a well, and have to avoid obstacles as you go down. There's different types of items you can play as, changing how many hits you can take and how fast you fall. It's fun to replay the levels with different types of objects to try and beat your high score. It can be pretty punishing at times, but it does feel pretty good when you finally reach the water with a fast time. This one is so cheap on the eShop that I feel like it's an easy pickup to help give you something random to play for a couple minutes in between other games. Weapon Shop de Omase is not only really fun to say, but it's also an awesome rhythm game where you forge weapons for the NPCs of a fantasy RPG world. Wow, there are a lot of great rhythm games on the 3DS. The best part about this one is the writing. There's a lot of clever lines about the nature of RPGs and questing. You'll get some pretty hilarious customers who need weapons. Once you finish a weapon for someone, you get to see how their quest goes, which leads to some pretty funny moments. I don't see a lot of people talking about this one, which is a shame because for only $8 it's a really good time, so don't let this one escape you. Jet Rocket 2 is a platforming game with both 2D and 3D levels. The movement is kind of clunky, but 3D platformers are pretty rare on this console, so I still enjoy this game despite the movement. There's some really great levels and ideas here, and even though it's a little unpolished, I still appreciate the effort to make a solid game in this genre for the eShop. Super Mario 3D Land is still the king of this console, but this game can be a good supplemental experience alongside that game. If you're a fan of platforming games like me, I think there's a lot of enjoyment you can get out of this game, and once the eShop closes, it'll be gone for good. Alright, that was 10 3DS eShop games I recommend picking up before things shut down. But I do want to go over a few more games quickly just to cover more stuff. First up, there's the Virtual Console, which has a lot of great offerings. Games like The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and Seasons, Metroid 2, and some classic Pokemon games have only been re-released on the 3DS, so you definitely don't want to miss out on those. There's also some cool games in the 3D Classics line like Kid Icarus, Excitebike, and Kirby's Adventure. Games like the Nintendo Badge Arcade and Rusty's Real Deal Baseball are cool free-to-play experiments by Nintendo, where you can spend small amounts of money in-game to unlock stuff. The Badge Arcade especially is really cool because it lets you customize your home screen with unique icons and stickers. And as some final 3DS eShop suggestions, there's Liberation Maiden, where you pilot a giant mech and fight to save Japan, 3 Ace Attorney games that are only on the eShop, so pick those up if you think you'll want to play them someday on a console instead of on mobile, Air Race Speed, a fast-paced arcade racing flying game, and Fluidity Spin Cycle, a physics-based puzzle platformer. Okay, hopefully you were taking notes or something, because that was a lot. Now let's move on to the Wii U and cover some of the eShop games on that system that I recommend picking up. Luckily, most Wii U games have actually gotten ported to other consoles, but there are still a few exclusives. Affordable Space Adventures has one of the very best uses of the gamepad on the whole console, so it'll probably never leave this system. Managing the control panel of devices and options on the gamepad makes it feel like you're really piloting this tiny ship, and is some great asymmetric gameplay. I absolutely love the vibes of this game, where you watch this glorious and happy ad for the space service, but then it cuts to this dark and scary alien world that's terrifying to explore. The atmosphere is off the charts with this one, and although it does suddenly get a little too difficult in the last couple sections, it's worth it for the amazing ending. One of my favorite indie experiences of all time, and definitely worth getting on the Wii U before it's gone. Pushmo is a charming puzzle series that actually started on the 3DS, but I think Pushmo World on the Wii U is the best way to experience this series. These puzzles may seem simple at first, but pulling and pushing out the blocks to get to the top gets complex quick. It's super rewarding to solve one of these puzzles, and it feels great once everything falls into place. This tiny little chubby sumo dude is just the best, and the whole game has a really nice charming feel to it. The levels just get bigger and better the longer you play, and figuring out these massive labyrinths is a lot of fun. This game is great and you don't want to miss out on it. Art of Balance started out as a WiiWare game and then got ported to the 3DS with touch controls, then onto the Wii U, and finally onto the Nintendo Switch. But out of all of those versions, I consider the Wii U the definitive and best way to play the game because it has the pointer controls of the Wii, the touch controls of the 3DS, and the button controls from the Switch. Balancing these shapes in this zen environment is a lot of fun and super enjoyable. This game has great music and an overall super relaxing atmosphere, making it a perfect game to chill out with. The physics are pretty impressive, and things balance in ways that make sense and feel good to figure out. Definitely worth picking up for your Wii U before the shutdown. Fast Racing Neo is a high-speed racing game with incredible visuals. This is seriously one of the best looking games on the Wii U. The designs of all the vehicles are just so cool, and switching between colors to hit the boost pads feels great. The course design is really impressive, and you can get even more courses through some DLC, which is worth picking up too. F-Zero may be a dead franchise for now, but at least we have some fantastic games like this to entertain us in the meantime. Keep in mind that this game has gotten an upgraded port on the Switch in the form of Fast RMX, so if you want to, you can buy it there instead. Art Academy Home Studio is the best entry in the Art Academy series, one of Nintendo's many dormant franchises. This series started on the DS, and it translates perfectly to the Wii U thanks to the gamepad. There's a large amount of artistic tools for you to work with, so you can create some really awesome works of art, or in my case, some stuff that looks kind of good if you squint. There's lots of great lessons where Vince takes you through step by step how to create art, which is actually really informative and useful. I also like the gallery feature where you can walk around and look at your displayed art. This one comes in a little pricey at $30, but it's worth it if you want to turn your gamepad into an art-making machine. The SteamWorld games are some of my favorite indies of all time, and SteamWorld Dig and Heist are totally worth picking up for your Wii U. These two games were packaged together into a physical version, but it's pretty expensive, so you're really just better off buying them digitally. SteamWorld Dig is a fantastic Metroidvania where you dig down and create your own unique map as you go, with a great sense of style thrown on top. And SteamWorld Heist is one of my very favorite turn-based combat style games thanks to its focus on skill over luck, meaning good planning and aiming is the key to victory. These two games are both amazing and you should definitely buy them if you haven't already. They go on sale pretty consistently on the Wii U or on any of the other platforms where they're available. Dr. Luigi is a modern version of the classic Dr. Mario puzzle game, only this time it's starring the green plumber instead of the red one. Part of Nintendo's Year of Luigi celebration, this game is a pretty great version of the series with some fun twists. I think I actually prefer the L-shaped pills compared to the normal ones, but that might just be because I've played this game the most. You can even play this game online against other people, which is pretty cool. Plus, Luigi's little dance is just adorable. There's something so enjoyable about just kicking back and relaxing with a puzzle game as some upbeat music plays. Despite how bad I am at these types of games, Dr. Luigi is one of my personal favorites. Adventures of Pip is a retro-style 2D platformer with a cool main gimmick of switching between resolutions to get different movesets. You can be a single pixel that can float around easier, an 8-bit version that can wall jump and move faster, and a 32-bit hero with a sword, being able to downgrade your resolution whenever you want to. There's some pretty clever platforming challenges and level design here, with a nice visual style too. It doesn't revolutionize this genre or anything, but it's a solid 2D platformer that I think is worth your time. It's also on a lot of other consoles as well, including the Switch. Nano Assault Neo is a shoot-'em-up game where you play as this tiny robot who has to destroy the infections in the cells you're protecting. It's all about avoiding incoming fire and gathering upgrades, with things getting really crazy really fast. It feels good to absolutely destroy all these nasty-looking parasite things, and the cool rotating 3D space you move around in looks great. The gameplay loop of shooting stuff, collecting coins, and moving on to the next area kept me playing for hours. This one did get ported to the PS4 in 2014, but it has yet to come to the Switch, so the Wii U might be your only option to play this one. Axiom Verge plays pretty much just like a 2D Metroid game, which is not a bad thing. Exploring a big map and collecting upgrades will always be a great gameplay experience, and Axiom Verge has a lot to offer. There's consistently new weapon upgrades that keep things interesting, with a solid story and engaging boss fights too. This one did get a physical collector's edition on Wii U, but it's super expensive, so I recommend getting it on the eShop. It's also on a lot of other consoles though, so you don't have to feel too bad if you miss out on it on the Wii U. Okay, let's go over some of the other games I want to mention for the Wii U before wrapping this thing up. The Wii U's Virtual Console has a huge amount of games to offer, so I highly suggest hopping on the eShop and buying anything you're interested in playing yourself. But some of my favorites are the Metroid Prime Trilogy and Metroid Game Boy Advance games, the Minish Cap and DS Zelda games, Wario Land Shake It, Earthbound, Golden Sun, Super Mario RPG, and the Mario and Luigi games. But honestly, that's just scratching the surface. There are a ton of Virtual Console games that are worth picking up. The games in the DS library especially are great, as you still get the dual screen experience but on a home console. And finally, some last-minute non-exclusive Wii U eShop games I haven't mentioned include Drifter, a challenging pixel art Metroid-style game, Runbow, a colorful party platformer, Guacamelee, a stylish Metroidvania with beat-em-up action, and the first two Trine games, 2D fantasy adventure games with beautiful graphics. There are so many more I could cover, but I have to stop somewhere. Wow, that was a lot of games to cover. Hopefully I was able to put some games on your radar for you to pick up before the eShop closes in March. Obviously I'm not saying you should buy every single game from this video, just pick out the ones that are most interesting to you and look into them more yourself. And be sure to leave a comment sharing any eShop games you think people should check out before next spring. I'd love to hear your suggestions. Overall, the 3DS definitely has more eShop exclusives that will be lost to time, but the Wii U has a couple as well. It sucks that the eShops have to close it all, and I hope you're able to buy the games you want to play before things shut down. I know I still have a couple games here and there that I'm planning to pick up before then. And that brings us to the end. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see ya in the next one.